I'm Tanisha. Welcome to my channel, The Monarch Witch. This channel is named after the monarch butterfly because the monarch butterfly is a symbol of transformation. And on this channel, I teach from my own experiences as well as deliver channeled messages for the collective as a whole about what's going on in the world as a whole, to help us grow, learn, and transform together. So I apologize for the bland background today. For a lot of people who have been watching my channel, you know that I usually try and be out in nature, so that you have a beautiful background and I can be more grounded for my videos as well. But it is very, very hot today, so you just got my blinds today. But that's okay, because the information delivered today will still be really interesting, and I think we can learn a lot by opening up this discussion. So that brings me on to today's topic. So today's topic is about the war between God and Satan. The war between them, what role we play in it, how it's manifesting in the world, and what actions can we take to understand the deeper meaning of this war and work together to create a world that no longer has this war and is of love and peace. So I've talked in my previous videos about gods and goddesses being different perceptions of the overall energy, which I call the Divine Mother and Father. And I've talked about the fact that there can be more than one, even more than two, multiple versions of these gods and goddesses that have been created from this energy, from certain thoughts, perceptions, and beliefs. So this same principle applies to the god Yahweh and Satan. This is why it's been quite a confusing thing to channel, to get to the bottom of what's really going on with the war, because there are multiple versions of these beings. There are versions that can be used for good, and there are versions that can be used for evil. So, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be talking about the versions that are written in the Bible. And the version of Satan that is seen as bad and wanting the downfall of humanity, and wanting to basically us to sin and condemn us to hell. And the version of Yahweh in the Bible that is a wrathful, vengeful God that wants us to follow only Him. We're going to be talking about, I guess you could say, there might have been the first versions of these gods. I'm not too sure on that. There could have been versions of them before this, but basically these are the two energies that have manifested as being at war with each other through us in this world. And so I'm going to take you to a verse from the Bible that has these two versions of these beings in it, and helps us understand more clearly what their agenda actually is. And that is the book of Job. And in this verse, it's basically a bet between Satan and Yahweh that no matter what is done to Job, he will stay faithful to Yahweh and he will stay worshipping Yahweh, right? And so Yahweh authorizes Satan to let demons torture Job, to unalive his entire family. And Job, what's even worse about this is that Job has been a faithful servant to Yahweh who has done nothing wrong before this. And so what this verse actually shows us, and I'm sorry if this is going to be a bit controversial or hard to hear, but if you look at it logically, this is what it shows us, is it was basically a D contest between these two beings. Oh, he'll worship me no matter what you do to him. No, he'll worship me. Like, what that shows me, and what it should probably show most people that look at it, is that neither one of these beings actually cared about human beings at all. And so there are human beings that have picked Yahweh's side, and there are human beings that have picked Satan's side. And the point I'm trying to make is that we shouldn't have picked either side, because it's not between human beings. This war is between those two beings and should stay between those two beings. Like, why are we worshipping beings, or this version of these beings, that would treat us like pawns in a chess game, essentially? And it also shows you that they need our energy to win against each other. You know, they need our energy to keep the war going between each other. What? It was kind of good timing when he was like, what? In the background. But yeah, anyway, moving on. So we are seeing this manipulation of these two energies playing out behind the scenes in the world at the moment. And there is so many different ways that this is happening. So one of the ways that we are seeing this war play out is actually through demons. There are more and more people that are gaining the insight of the third eye to be able to see demonic entities. There are more and more people that are becoming aware of their influences. There are more demonic possessions happening. So that is just one of the ways that we are seeing this war play out. Now, it would be easy to then blame that all on Satan and run to the God Yahweh to save us. But think about the passage I just shared with you. Yahweh has control over Satan and the demons, and he is letting it happen as a bet for humanity's soul. Who are we going to worship? And so this kind of demonic warfare is not only coming from Satan, but also Yahweh. From Satan's side, it's, I'm going to torture humanity with demons so that they'll be tormented and they'll come over to my side and they'll lose faith in Yahweh. And from Yahweh's side, it's like, well, I'm going to let that happen so they cry out for me when they're feeling tortured and need saving. Like, if you lose your logic, if you use your logic instead of losing your logic, it's clear to see, yes, it is a battle for humanity's soul, but we don't want to worship either of these beings. And we don't want to let either of these beings own our energy or our soul. But what's really interesting is at the same time these beings are at war with each other, they're also working together. So each of these beings are working together to get humanity to turn over to one side or the other. Both of these beings do not want us realizing our own sovereignty, our own power, that we are divine beings ourselves, and following our own path. And that is why when we do follow our own path, for example, if we choose a more spiritual route, a more spiritual path, there has actually been a lot of people in that path who have experienced demonic attacks. So that is, again, these two beings working together. Yahweh is allowing the demonic attacks because I've always told you, I told you in one of my videos before about using discernment. Look at what it causes. Don't necessarily look at what they're showing you, but look at what it causes. What it then causes is people in the spiritual community to have become afraid of their own divine energy, to become afraid of their sovereignty, and to worship the being Yahweh, or to go the other way, and for them to start worshipping Satan instead, because they're now being attacked by that demonic energy, and they're now in a place of fear, anger, torment. So you see what I'm saying? One of these beings wins either way. But guess who doesn't win? We don't. Now, this is another reason why I'm sure, why I've been seeing, and I'm sure a lot of you have been seeing, a fear of witches and anything spiritual being spread in the world. And it's not the first time it's happened. It's, again, this fear of witches and spiritual people is being spread in the world because the witches and the spiritual people, not all of them, I'm not going to say all witches, all spiritual people are good. There is always two sides to everything. But those paths are usually about your own sovereignty, your own power. And by finding that power, you realize you have a wisdom, you have a knowledge. Wise woman, that it's not beneficial for you to worship any of these beings. So this is also why there has again been propaganda spread that goddesses are evil. So you'll also see that they're talking about female celebrities that are worshipping goddesses and spreading the fear that these goddesses are evil as well. And obviously we can see that there are certain celebrities that follow Satan, or maybe follow different versions of these gods or goddesses that are not for the good of humanity. But again, it's not as black and white as that means all goddesses are evil. That means all gods are evil. All these gods are evil that aren't Satan. That aren't Yahweh. You know, it's not as simple as that. It's more about as well what kind of energy that person aligns with. Okay, but we can see clearly in the Bible that Yahweh was a jealous God. He didn't want us having a connection or a relationship with any other gods or goddesses as well. So that war is playing out as well. But another thing that's been channeled to me on that topic is that all the goddess symbolism in Hollywood, and particularly the music industry, that's happening is actually a cover for who they're really worshipping behind the scenes, which is either Yahweh or Satan. But they're pretending that it's these goddesses that they're worshipping because their agenda is to make these goddesses look evil. Because these goddesses often are actually like protectors of women and children and protectors of humanity. You know, these gods and goddesses that aren't Yahweh and Satan aren't over here being like, you need to worship me and only me, and I'm a jealous god or I'm a jealous goddess. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that's why the agenda from the beings Yahweh and Satan is to move us away from them, because these gods and goddesses as well are often teaching us about our own power. And so there are often multiple reasons happening in the industry as to why even this occult symbolism and this goddess symbolism and everything is being used. There's multiple reasons, because there are multiple people involved, which means multiple agendas, multiple perspectives, and there are also more than one secret society with more than one agenda. So there are some secret societies that I would vouch probably either worship Satan or Yahweh, or maybe even don't worship any of those beings, but just are all about power for themselves. Power, money for themselves at the expense of other humans. So you have that going on. And they often, probably I would say all of the secret societies, would practice the occult. Because what does the occult mean? It means hidden knowledge, and they are secret societies, they are hidden societies, okay? And so, yeah, you've got ones that have the agenda of power control. You've got ones that know the occult, know the hidden truths, but feel like humanity isn't ready for it yet, at our stage of spiritual evolution. And then you have ones that know the occult, know the hidden knowledge, and are trying to slowly share that with humanity to wake them up, to prevent us from being manipulated and controlled by these beings, and by the other societies. And so not only do we have a war going on between these two beings in humanity at the moment, but we also have I wouldn't say it was a war, but different agendas going on between the secret societies as well. And so the question we've all got to ask ourselves is, what do we do while this is all going on? You know, what do we do about it? How do we make sure that we continue to work together to create a world of peace and love that we want? You know, how do we make sure we're on the right side? Well, you do this by realizing that what you put your attention and energy on is what you continue to bring to you and create. So these beings, as well as humans that want to control and manipulate for power and greed purposes, the reason that they need our worship and our energy is because they cease to exist in our world without it. I want you to take a minute to take that in, to realize how powerful and divine you actually are. The fact that without your energy, they cease to have control over this world. They cease to exist. They need your energy. So what do? We don't give it to them. We don't hand out over our power to anyone or anything. We continue to focus on the world we want to create together, which for most of us, I'm assuming, is a world of love and peace without all this division and hatred and war. And I would probably assume that most of us also want to know the truth of everything, which that could take a while because, as I said, there's so many different perceptions, agendas, things that have been created from thoughts and beliefs, and, you know, it's all energy. But yes, what we focus on is we continue to put our energy and attention on to the world we want to create and take it off of these beings, off of these human beings. Stop engaging in the war that was never between us to begin with. Because the right side is your side. The right side is within. Now, another point that I want to bring up is if you are a Christian watching this video and you follow the teachings of Jesus Christ, then I want you to really look into those teachings and see that Jesus Christ was talking about a whole different God to Yahweh, a God of love, the true energy that exists within us and around us. It's in us and it's in everything else that we've collectively created. I want you to realize that he went against Yahweh. Yahweh was the God of religion of that time. And Jesus says that you won't find God, you know, in the sky, you won't find him in the sea. And he talks about, when he's asked, like, what rules do we need to follow? You know, he constantly challenges religion, therefore challenges Yahweh in the Bible. You see, he knew the truth. This is also why he was condemned, crucified, labeled a heretic. I have even said in some of my other videos that I believe Jesus Christ himself was a witch, was an occultist, because there is actually research and evidence about all of the parts of his life before we get introduced to him in the Bible, about him going through all these different mystery schools and things like that. So I believe he had the hidden knowledge that these secret societies do. And he was one of the people in those secret societies trying to slowly awaken humanity to the truth. And I do think that Jesus Christ can actually help you go within and awaken to the divine power within yourself, because that's what he was teaching. So if you are in Christianity and this resonates with you, then I feel like he would not want us to worship him, because he was teaching us not to hand our power away. But his energy was the embodiment of love, and he was trying to teach us the truth. So if religion just got rid of Yahweh completely, just think of like how much of a better place this world would be if we just followed Jesus Christ's teachings. And so I also don't believe that Jesus condemned witches to be unalived, especially because I believe he was one himself. He was an occultist himself. He'd been through those mystery schools himself. That was the work of Yahweh, because Yahweh realized that witches were, some of them were not giving their power away to him. They were giving it away to other gods and goddesses. Or they were not giving it away to other gods and goddesses, but they were looking at the power with them themselves. They were wise, they had knowledge, they could find out the truth of the manipulation of this being, as well as the manipulation of Satan. Witches can look behind the veil and see the truth. They can see what's not being shown in the physical. Right? And so Yahweh knew this. And so that's why there is such a war and hatred on witches and spiritual people as well. And just to prove to you like how powerful you are, and the fact that if you take your energy away from these beings, they will cease to exist in this world, I'm going to share with you one of my dreams that I have shared on other videos, but if you're new here watching, you might not have heard it before. So this was a dream that I had, and in the dream, I was told that I was a witch. So this was like a dream that was kind of awakening me up to that side of me and more so who I was. But also in this dream, there was darkness, dark beings descending on us, and it was not going to be good. It was like dark times, just a time where pure darkness was going to descend upon us. And I say darkness because that's how I seen it symbolically, but in a lot of my videos I've talked about darker energy having a positive side as well, but in this case it was a really negative, harmful side. I knew within in this dream that it was not a good thing. And then so I was being told I'm a witch, it's who I am, it's who I've always been. And then what happened next was there was a tree. So this darkness was descending up on us, and where we were was like a massive field, and then there was this one tree that stood there, which I believe was symbolic to the tree of life. And the tree, the leaves on it became rose quartz crystals and were glowing, and rose quartz crystals symbolize love. And then I just knew, as well as the people in this dream just knew, that we needed to take our attention away from the darkness descending upon us. And instead we all held hands in a circle around this tree. This tree was the embodiment, I believe, of our Divine Mother of love. And when people describe an NDE experience, they say there was this feeling of unconditional love like they've never felt before. And that was what I felt in this dream. And we're all holding hands with each other and having the intention of love towards each other. So we took our attention away from the darkness completely. There was no fighting it, with weapons or anything like that. It was just turning towards each other and having the intention of love towards each other. And when we did that and we were feeling this overwhelming, unconditional love, the darkness literally just dissipated. It didn't exist anymore. So that's why I say if you take your energy away from it, it doesn't exist anymore. That's what happened in the dream. That's what was shown to me. And this is also why on my Patreon, for free members, I've created a joint ritual that is to put our focus on protecting and loving our children and creating a world for them that is safe and nurturing, because at the moment we've seen that there are so many children being harmed in this world, and that is not okay. And so we want to put our attention towards the children, the love towards the children, and creating a better world. And that's what this joint ritual was for. Now, it's not a live one anymore. I tried to do it live but had technical difficulties, so it didn't end up being live. But even if you go watch it now, even that, and you follow the instructions, that's still combined energy, and our energy combined is so powerful, which is what that dream showed me as well. So I will put the link for my Patreon in the description below. The other thing that I just want to quickly tell you as well is I've put my first spell up on Patreon, on my shop, which I have actually created. It's my own created spell. It's a protection spell, and I used it to protect my son from bullying that he was going through in school, and I'm pleased to say that it worked. So I'm not a witch that casts spells for people, because I want you to know your own power, and I want you to use your own power. So I prefer just putting the spells up. So I've done that. I've put the spell up. It has what you need. It has the step-by-step process in it. And then the next thing I'm going to be doing is actually creating an information video that you can purchase that goes with that spell. And in that video, I'll be talking about how the spell actually manifested. I'll be talking about different objects you can use if you don't have the ones that are in my spell. And I will be talking about the intention behind why every object is used as well, because the intention is probably the most important thing in the spell as well. So that will be up on my Patreon for you as well. But if you don't want to purchase any of that and you're just interested in joining the rituals, that's free for you to do. But I just created that space because I wanted a space where it was more about the spell work and the rituals if people wanted to participate in that, because this space, this channel, is more about, what's going on in the broader collective than just specific spells or, specific rituals. So I wanted to do the two things, but have them a bit separate, just so they're easier to know what's what. I also don't want to push the occult or witchcraft onto anybody if that's not what they want to follow. So that's why, on this YouTube channel, it is not just about the witchcraft and the occult, although I do talk about it often because it is going on a lot in the world as a whole at the moment. But I do have videos that are not about witchcraft and the occult, because I do respect the fact that not everybody wants to follow that path, and that path is not for everyone. But the main thing that I want you to take out of my videos is the power within yourself. the power within yourself, and to love and respect each other's differences and learn from each other. So whether you are for or against what I've spoken about today, I would love to have you comment still, because it all opens up a discussion and it all helps us learn from each other and get closer to the truth and get closer to understanding each other. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and have a great day or night wherever you are.